Well, over the past few days, I've had the opportunity to do some traveling to some places that I have never been before. Been traveling to some places on the Channel Islands, and currently I am on the island of Alderney. Alderney is a place that has a very deep and rich history, as you can see with the structure right here behind me. This is a 4th century Roman fort, but this isn't a site that was only used by the Romans, because as you can see right back here, it was also used by another military force in another century. All right, now, like I said, I am on the island of Alderney. We haven't been here very long, but we've had a little tour around the island, and this place is absolutely phenomenal. Not just for someone who is a history lover, but also someone who is into nature or just wants a quiet place to get away. I have loved my time here so far. And today, we went by this real unique spot where there is a Roman fort that is on the same site as some German bunkers. All right, we've just made our way to the inside of this Roman fort. Again, this was built originally by the Romans in the late 4th century. Now, during the 4th century, one thing that would have been, well, a lot of things are going to be different. One of them is that the ground level would have been about 2 meters lower than what it is right now. And after the Roman era, well, this site continued to evolve. When the British occupy these islands, well, in the 1790s, they start retrofitting this fort for their own purposes with the original walls. So here we're looking at a 1790s guardhouse. And then when the Germans get here during the Second World War, well, they start building things to fit their purposes. So what we're looking at right here is a Type 501 group shelter. All right, so this is where soldiers would have been billeted. Now, something else is that during the Roman era, this middle part would have had a tower in it. And then again, if we continue over here, well, here is another structure that was built by the British. This is a gunpowder magazine that was again built in the late 1700s, early 1800s. And then we continue through here. Well, they have what's called a Roman wall walk. And I haven't walked up here yet, but we're just going to see what it looks like, because a Roman wall walk sounds pretty cool to me. It's amazing that these walls still stand. Anyway, if we come up here, well, you can see the view that a Roman soldier would have had as he was doing his duty guarding this fort. Moving over just a bit along the wall, well, at one time you would have had Romans standing guard here, and then during World War II, well, you would have had the Germans here. So what we are looking at is an anti-aircraft position that would have been set up on this fort. And it's just wild to me to to think about how we're talking like 15, 16 centuries apart. You have men that are here doing basically the same thing with different technology, against different enemies in different times, but all just guarding this bay right here. Right now, this is something that is really kind of cool here in this fort. What we are looking at is a PAC 36 anti-tank gun, shot a 3.7 centimeter round, and this kind of a garage structure was built and integrated into the Roman fort here. And if we go out, well, oh man, just smoked my head something fierce. Oh, look at this. Hilarious. Yeah. Mind your head. Oh man, smoked it hard. All right, anyway, let's duck down a little lower here. As you can see, let me adjust my lighting here. As you can see, once the gun came out of the garage, it couldn't come straight out because it's just firing into the hillside. So they built these tracks so that it could curl around and get into the position right about where that truck is at so that it could fire out here into the bay. All right, come back down on ground level here, and we're just going to pop inside of this German machine gun bunker real quick. And as we are approaching, noticing that right over the door, well, they had the time to do a little artwork here on this bunker. That is an Edelweiss that we are looking at. And let's go ahead and just pop in here. Okay, so this room right here originally would have been a room for the gun crew that was manning this bunker. And I mentioned that there was a tower in the middle of the fort. Well, here is a model of that tower. So you would have had Roman soldiers that were living inside there and then patrolling the walls. And then later, again, you're going to have Germans who were here. And then if we go over here, well, they have some photos and some of the stories of the excavation and renovation. I love people who are passionate about history and are willing to volunteer to do work and then open these sites up so that the rest of us can experience the history and can learn. And then right here, this site, by the way, is called the Nunnery. This is the Nunnery in the late 1800s. Okay, and then you can see a few other historic photos of what it has looked like through the years. Okay, let's take a look at the machine gun position here in this bunker. Now, this particular machine gun position has basically two different wings to it. One of them looks like the hole has been blown out here. But anyway, this one obviously is covering any potential landing beach right here. And then if we go over here, well, I'm going to adjust my light here. This one is in a little bit better shape, and we can kind of see what the machine gun position actually looked like. And you can see where this one is covering the beach from this angle right here. Interesting. We've moved back outside the walls of the Roman fort, and there was something real quick that I wanted to show. If you go to Normandy, well, there are sections like maybe around Utah Beach or something where you can go see sections of the anti-tank walls that were built there along the Atlantic Wall. And here between the fort and this anti-tank bunker that I'm standing on, well, here's a little bit of an anti-tank wall. But take a look at this. Protecting this bay from any potential Allied attack they have preserved the original tank wall that was built by the Germans, and as you can see, it just goes on and on and on and on. Personally, I've never seen anything like this. So if you're into the history of the Second World War and you're into looking at defensive fortifications that were built by the Germans, this is definitely the place to come. All right, well, I have just moved off the coast a little bit and up the hill. And right here on this high ground is this monstrosity right here. This was called by the locals after they returned. I just heard a pheasant. This was called the Odeon bunker. And to an American, that doesn't mean anything, but to the British, it might. Odeon was a cinema chain. It had kind of like an Art Deco style, so when they came back and they saw this, it reminded them of some of the style of this Odeon cinema. We're going to go inside here in just a little bit, but got a few other things that I want to show first up here. One thing to consider with this spot is we aren't too far from Britain. As a matter of fact, we are well within range of the Royal Air Force. So this area was going to need some air protection. And what we are looking at here is one of 6 positions for an 88 millimeter flak gun. I'm going to see if I can get up here without hurting myself, so we can take a look at this. Oh, stupid me, I probably could have went on the other side there. But anyway, here is one of the 6 positions that would have had an 88 millimeter gun. It's insane to me how many resources were poured into these islands. And if you think places like Normandy were suffering and just kind of scrounging and scrapping and stealing and getting whatever they could from wherever they could, and yet resources were being lavishly poured out here on the Channel Islands. I've kicked off to the backside of the Odeon here for just a moment, and off to my left, well, of course, you can see the channel out there, and then the backside of this bunker would need to be protected. So right here, well, we can see a mount for I believe it's a 3.7 centimeter gun. So we'll just walk up here real quick and show what the view looks like from this angle. So here's the gun mount, and then this is the field of fire that we are looking at here for this gun. All right, we've moved back over now to the Odeon. And if you look at this bunker, it looks a little bit different from anything that we've seen on this channel. On Guernsey, there were a few that were similar, but this is actually a one-of-a-kind German range-finding bunker. And you'll notice that it has 3 levels. So the idea was that there would be a rangefinder on each one of those levels. Each one would be basically reporting back to a different gun battery, so that if the Allies were out here at sea, well, they could fire on any of the ships that might be looking to retake Alderney. Now, it's pretty foggy today. On a normal day, you'd be able to see France over there. But anyway, they have this bunker open to the public to where we can go in and take a look. So we're going to go in and take a quick peek inside of this bunker. All right, we just got into the Odeon bunker here, and we're just going to do a quick walkthrough. Since this is the only bunker of its kind, I want to show what it looks like on the inside. And if you'll take a look here, well, you'll notice that it looks like we've got a little bit of damage on this bunker. Well, obviously this isn't wartime damage because there was no fighting that took place here. What we are looking at is damage from the British. So after the war, the British used this as a testing ground for explosives. So some areas are damaged. And then we get into this level, and there's all kinds of interpretation. I've already taken a quick tour through here, and it's really quite amazing. So in here we have a schematic of the bunker here in Alderney, and then on this cross section, well, this shows you the 3 different levels of the bunker and kind of where everything is at. So as you walk through this bunker complex, well, you constantly have these guides that are telling you where you are. And then look at this. What we're looking at here is a crew room, and in all of the bunkers that I've been to, I haven't seen anything like this. Like, this is really quite clever. There was a local artist who did this work to kind of help immerse us into the experience of what a very bored German soldier might be doing, reading a paper, and you can see he's got pictures of his family and stuff like that up on the wall. Yeah, really well done. Okay, we're gonna go downstairs first before we go to any of the observation decks. And this area right here on the lower level below ground, this is kind of like a service area. So back here would have been heating and ventilation. This just would have been a crew room right here, so nothing really to show in that room. And then they also would have had shower facilities down here. All right, so got a little bit of a content warning here. Yeah, there you go. If you needed to get cleaned up here at the bunker, well, this is where you would come to get your shower. All right, we just came up the steps and are about halfway up the bunker right now. And the area that we have moved into is the operations room. So this is where soldiers would come for operational purposes, relaying target information to coastal artillery. And they have a little documentary that people can come in here and check out. Here's one thing that I want to point out. So this is so thoughtful what they have done here. They have this information panel that shows the war in context and Alderney's place in it. So here on the top level you can see, well, September 1st, 1939, Germany invades Poland. Okay, and then we get into the invasion of mainland Europe. And then Alderney is going to come into the picture. And on this lower timeline, well, you can see Alderney's story while you're looking at what's happening on a larger scale up here. I don't know whose idea that was, but this is really, really good. And other museums and other educational institutions that are talking about local history would do well to take a page from this, because, yeah, this is really, really good. Okay, coming up now to the top level. Now, we can't go up onto the roof. Originally, here's a picture of the roof of the bunker. They would have had their rangefinder up there, so this whole big giant complex is being made just for a rangefinder that you could put anywhere. And then Back here, we've got a room for defense of the backside of the bunker. There was another crew room off to the side there. And then in here, again, we've got our local artist at work. And it's a little bit dark in here, but this is the radio room. Again, I really, really appreciate the volume of information that they have for the public on these bunkers. By the way, this is open, free to the public, and what we are looking at here is how one of these range-finding bunkers would have worked. So this is known as an MP tower, so this is a naval range-finding tower, and theoretically you would have had one on one part of the island and another on another part of the island. And then if there's a ship out to sea, well, two rangefinders can plug in their distances and then report back to the coastal gun battery. They can triangulate that position, do a little math, and then fire on the ship. Now, when the Army took over, they didn't like this method, so this ended up being the only bunker of its kind built on Alderney. Okay, we've now made our way to the front end of the bunker, and this is the third level. Oh, just bumped my dang head. This is the third level of observation right here. So if we come out here, well, you can get just a glimpse of the sights, kind of. It's a little bit foggy right now, but it would have been foggy days for the Germans as well. But this is the view that they would have had here on this level of the range-finding bunker. So again, there are 3 different levels. Each one would go to a different battery here on the island. Incredible. All right, well, that was a little bit of the Roman ruins and some of the Victorian era forts and a few of the German fortifications from World War II right here on Alderney. And I'll tell you what, I don't say this lightly. You need to come to this island. This is unlike anything I've ever seen. And if you look right now, I'm here by myself. So you can come, you can see these historic fortifications, you can learn more about different eras in history, and can kind of do it without the crowds. So yeah, as for now, we are going to head on to the next place.